There are over a billion cows alive on Earth right now, just for one reason. 9 billion chickens get killed every single year in the US alone. Sheep, pigs, goats, deer, huge industries, all built around animals that eat grass and grain their whole lives. Now try to remember the last time you saw lion steak on a menu, or wolf, or eagle, or shark, outside of a soup you probably shouldn't be eating anyway. Humans have eaten almost every plant-eating animal on this planet at some point. But predators? Almost never. Not as food, not as a habit, not at any real scale. And here's the strange part. Cultures all over the world, with no contact with each other, no shared language, no shared religion, they all landed on the exact same rule. Eat the plant eaters. Leave the meat eaters alone. Think about that for a second. A wolf and a cow are both just meat, muscle, fat, protein, both edible. So why does one show up on almost every dinner table on the planet, and the other basically never does? There's no single answer. It's biology, chemistry, and culture, all pushing in the same direction. And it starts with simple math. In 1942, a scientist named Raymond Lindemann worked out something called the 10% rule. Every time energy moves up a food chain, about 90% of it gets lost. Burned as heat, used for movement, wasted in digestion. Only 10% makes it to the next level. So picture a field of grass with 100 pounds of energy. That can feed maybe 10 pounds of deer. And that 10 pounds of deer can only feed about 1 pound of wolf. To grow 1 pound of predator meat, you need 10 pounds of prey animal under it. And that 10 pounds of prey needed 100 pounds of plants under that. Predators are the most expensive meat on the planet to produce. Farming lions for food would mean farming animals whose entire diet is other farmed animals. The math just never works. Raising one cow already takes years of grain, water, and land. Raising a predator big enough to eat would mean losing 10 times that amount of prey just to keep one carnivore alive. No civilization in history has ever had that kind of energy to waste on one food source. But cost isn't even the biggest problem. Something else is quietly building up inside predator meat, and it has nothing to do with money. It's called biomagnification. Toxins like mercury and lead don't disappear as they move up a food chain. They stack up. A small fish absorbs a tiny bit of mercury. A bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish, and absorbs all that mercury at once. A shark eats hundreds of those bigger fish, and absorbs even more. By the time you reach the top of the food chain, you're looking at an animal that has spent its whole life collecting everyone else's poison. This is exactly why doctors tell pregnant women to avoid shark, swordfish, and king mackerel. Not because these fish are naturally bad, but because they sit at the top of a chain that's been quietly storing toxins for years. The same pattern almost wiped out bald eagles in the last century. The pesticide DDT washed into rivers, got absorbed by algae, built up in fish, and then built up even more inside the eagles that ate those fish. By the 1960s, DDT levels in American eagles were so high, it made their eggshells thin enough to collapse under the mother's own weight. Nesting pairs in the US dropped to under 1,000 before DDT was finally banned in 1972. That's what a lifetime at the top of a food chain does to a body. Whether it's mercury, lead, or a pesticide sprayed decades before anyone knew where it would end up. And this isn't some new discovery. Arctic explorers learned it the hard way over 100 years ago. Sled dogs across the Arctic have known by instinct for generations, never touch polar bear liver. Human explorers didn't get that memo. Members of Douglas Mawson's 1911 Antarctic expedition ate husky liver out of desperation. They got violent headaches, their skin started peeling, and their organs began failing. Doctors later found the cause: extreme vitamin A poisoning. Polar bear and husky liver store so much vitamin A that a single meal can kill a human. Arctic communities knew to avoid it centuries before science had a name for why. Then there's what predator meat is actually like, even before it reaches a plate. Prey animals mostly just graze all day. Predators sprint, stalk, and fight for every meal. That kind of constant stress floods their muscles with cortisol and adrenaline, and drains the stuff that normally makes meat tender. The result? Meat that's tougher, gamier, and often carries a strong musky taste. Hunters who've actually eaten mountain lion or wolf almost always say the same thing: edible if you're desperate, but never something you choose to eat. And then there's disease. Predators eat the sick, the old, and the weakest animals in a population, which means they're also eating every parasite and pathogen those animals were carrying. Trichinosis, a dangerous parasite once common in undercooked bear and wild boar, spreads specifically through predator meat. Carnivore meat carries a far higher parasite load than meat from plant eaters. A predator isn't just eating flesh, it's eating everything that was already wrong with its prey too. Now, the rule isn't completely absolute. History has a few exceptions, and they actually prove the point instead of breaking it. Bear meat has been eaten in parts of Scandinavia, Russia, and North America for centuries, but always in small amounts, and always cooked until it's basically sterile. Lion meat has shown up in parts of Africa during extreme famine, when there was truly nothing else left to eat. In almost every case in history, humans only turned to predator meat after every safer, cheaper plant-based option had already run out. That's not an exception to the rule. That's the rule proving itself. Predator meat has always been the last resort, never the first choice. Even today, South Africa runs a legal lion farming industry. But it exists to sell lion bones into traditional medicine markets in Asia, not to put lion meat on a dinner table. Conservation groups have criticized this for years. And it's one of the only serious attempts anywhere on Earth to farm a predator at scale, small, controversial, and aimed at bones, not meat, which only proves how firmly the rest of the world has avoided this path. And somewhere along the way, culture caught up with biology and made the rule official. The Bible's book of Leviticus bans eating birds of prey and clawed carnivores by name eagles, vultures, hawks. Islamic dietary law draws the exact same line, banning animals that hunt with fangs or claws. From ancient Israel, to the Arabian Peninsula, to Native American hunting traditions, completely unconnected cultures kept drawing the same invisible line. Eat the grazer, spare the hunter. Some anthropologists think this was never just about safety. Predators were feared, and in many cultures, worshipped. And you don't eat the animal you built a religion around. You don't eat the creature on your chief's headdress, or guarding the gates of your temple. Across dozens of unrelated civilizations, the lion, the eagle, the wolf, and the bear kept showing up as symbols of power and kingship. It's hard to serve dinner out of a god. So the real answer was never just one thing. It's biology, stacked on chemistry, stacked on culture, all pointing the same way. Predator meat costs too much energy to produce. It carries too much toxin. It tastes worse. It carries more disease. And on top of all that, we spent thousands of years turning the animals at the top of the food chain into symbols instead of meals. Every ecosystem on Earth runs on the same quiet math. Energy flows upward, and less of it survives the climb at every step. Humans didn't invent the rule that predators don't get eaten. We just noticed it, over and over, in every corner of the world. And we built our plates around it. The wolf was never on the menu. The math decided that a long time ago.